First of all, I'd like to thank Freescale for my invitation to come and speak to you all, the opportunity to come to Shenzhen. It's lovely and warm. It's nice to not have to be wearing a jacket in August. As Steve said, my name's Ivanka Majic, and I lead the design team for Canonical. The content of my presentation is about people. I won't be telling you anything about technology that you already know. It's not my area of expertise. My area of expertise is studying people and making sure that we can interpret their behaviors in a way that's useful for design and for product innovation. So I'd get shot if I didn't at least introduce Canonical to you. We've got offices, we've got people all over the world. There's more than 280 of us. We've got lovely offices in London with a beautiful view and a very nice office in Taipei. But we are the lead, the main corporate sponsor of Ubuntu, which is the most important thing you need to know for the purposes of this conversation. For those of you who haven't come across Ubuntu, this is what it looks like. It's an open source Linux operating system, and as lead designer, I have this wonderful community of people who do amazing things with their interface. We have cube desktops, cylindrical desktops, monochrome, colourful, you name it, they'll come up with it. And, luckily for me, they like to share things with me, and they let me play. Many of you may have seen the Ubuntu Netbook remix, which is up there in the corner, and some of you may have encountered something that looks a bit like this. We're looking towards the future. We're not there yet. I always like to put this slide up when I'm talking to people about how I work as a designer. What we're all looking for, really, is this sweet spot. The place where the user needs meets the business goals and marries up beautifully with what the market is doing. And that's not easy to achieve. As businesses, you want to sell products, you want to make money primarily, and all of us have slightly differing business goals. From a user perspective, they don't really care what product you're selling. What they care about is the brand that they're buying into. If I buy this device, what kind of person does that make me? And the market will do, some of us are followers, some of us are leaders. iPhone comes along, changes things a little bit. The Smartbook, I think, from a consumer point of view, is one of the biggest changes that we can look forward to in the near future. Having devices that can allow so much functionality for so long is a very interesting thing. You don't need to spend very long on the internet. Just go to Twitter, do a little search, and see how many people are asking their social networks where they could go and charge up their laptop on the move. Power is the thing that nobody really thought about until now. And the point about power packs, I think, is very key when we're comparing weights. I'm one of those people that has power packs in various places, so I don't have to carry one with me. Markets, competition. There are a huge number of devices out there. For consumers, it's very difficult. The choice is enormous. All those different shapes, sizes, weights, performance levels, interaction levels, services, all competing for space in somebody's handbag, in their hands, changing people's lives and behaviours. Shouldn't this young man be flirting with one of those young ladies? I don't know. Maybe he is. Maybe they're having a nice Bluetooth chat. I've been lucky enough in my career to do research in lots of different places. I have been to Turkey. One of the nice things about working in a market like Turkey is that they don't have any legacy systems. Everything's new. They have more capabilities in their banking than we do in the UK. You can do everything on your phone and at an ATM that you can do in online banking or in a branch. And the way they have a young population, and their adoption of technology is incredibly fast. And you really have to be producing excellent user experiences for them to let them tie into your lives. But one thing I work with a bank there, and one of the things they were very proud of is that Turkey has the 3rd biggest population on Facebook, which I didn't know until I got there. So there's the market with all the different devices. Here is one of my favourite photographs. If we look at her face, if you've ever seen me present, you will see this photograph. She is totally engrossed in what she's doing. She's happy, she's smiling, she's focused, she's concentrating, she's enjoying herself, and she's doing something. We all like good design because it makes our lives better. It helps us enjoy what we're doing. It helps us get lots more things done faster, more smoothly, and sometimes, if we're very lucky, we get to do something completely new. There are very sound business reasons why we need to think about users and how they behave and what they need. What I didn't put in my introduction bio is that I originally studied electronic engineering. That's what my bachelor's degree is in. I love technology, but very few people really care about how something works, why it works in a particular way. Everybody that works in technology, engineering, new devices, there's some very, very clever things coming out. But just because you can make it doesn't mean that somebody's going to want to use it and love it. Taking somebody from being an indifferent user, yeah, I can answer the phone, brilliant, and taking that experience from being a phone that I can answer and use to being something that I would not live without takes some work. We need to understand what people genuinely enjoy doing. So, the methodology that we follow is a user-centered design one, and we put people and their behaviour at the centre of our thinking. We study people, so we do a lot of going to people's houses, looking at where their devices are kept, what they do with them, how many they have, what they use them for. So we're noticing some quite interesting trends. Like, for example, I've noticed that people are getting more and more comfortable with having devices that have a particular application. So, I use this for listening to music, I use this for taking photographs, I use this for answering the phone, or, this is what I use when I'm out of the house, this is what I use when I get home. And it's important for us to understand. I think in Alan's slides, he talked about context of use. The best way to understand context of use is to go to people's houses, see what they do, follow them around. So I have an anthropologist on my team, so she goes off and spies on people. We also have a lab, so we have a constant stream of people coming through our design centre. We spend an hour with them. We give them we have Ubuntu on a PC. We have a little netbook that they play with. I find that the lady in the bottom left-hand corner, she's of the generation that got taught how to type at school properly, and the netbook, it was a bit too small. She struggled with it. She said, if I didn't know how to type properly, I'd probably enjoy this much better, because they pick it up, they go, oh, it's lovely and light. Oh, I could sit on the sofa. I could Skype my grandson. There's lots of reasons why the light and small device is not just for carrying around. It's also quite useful for just being able to carry around the house. One thing that I do enjoy this older generation segment. There's a few of them here, and I had one participant. I was talking to her about technology, and she's talking. She said something about Skype. I said, Skype? She goes, of course I know about Skype. I'm a woman of the world, she said as she was 16. But that's what we underestimate as well. I understand that many of the emerging markets, it's a younger generation that do stuff, but I find it quite interesting to work with this segment in the Western world. They're quite a demanding audience, and they don't suffer fools lightly. And in the younger age group, we have some very distinct differences. You do have people who love technology and want to conquer it. They're learners. They want to work out how it works, how to get the best out of it. But others, they just want to phone their friends, update their Facebook status, check their email. They have no interest or desire to work out how or why something works the way that it does. We also look at people on the move. I've cheated slightly here and tried to show you that I have been looking around while I was here. But I was watching these two ladies in Beijing They spend so much time finding the right angle for the photograph, running to each other, showing each other the photograph. Is this one right? No, let's do it again. There's looking at how people are going to use a device has a massive influence on how they are, their adoption of your products. I noticed on Henri's slide there was a device with a thumb interface. And if you think about it, we're talking about a portable device, but if we give it a clamshell form factor, does that mean I'm going to have to stop in the street and balance the thing on my knee so I can type on something? But this is something that's as gloriously useful as the BlackBerry interface. Tap out, where do I want to go, what do I want to do? I'm coming, I'm late, I'm nearly there. So we need to think about these things and try it's much easier to slip into a place into a thing that somebody already does than asking them to change the way that they behave in order to use your device. So we gather a lot of data, we do a lot of analysis, and I shan't go on about it too much, but we distill all our research into personas. And I'm only going to introduce two of them today. We have Rebecca, who loves to socialize, and we have Chris, who loves technology. A persona is merely a characterization of human behavior. They're a story, they're a person that we can believe in. So in a design room, when we're all fighting for which bit of functionality we think would be better, or which feature we think would be better, or how we think something could work, we can make ourselves pause and ask what Rebecca might want to do, or whether Chris would enjoy using something, because it's very, very easy to think about how we would want to use a device and not focus enough on the users that we're aiming our devices for. So Rebecca is, as I've mentioned along the way, somebody who uses her device to stay connected, to talk to her friends. She will use whatever somebody else tells her is good. So, we have participants that come in and they look at the icons, because they don't talk about browsers, they talk about the internet. Browser doesn't register in their vocabulary. They don't think about applications, they think about talking to somebody, checking a Facebook status. And Rebecca will, I had one quote where somebody said, "Oh, I use that Firefox thing." I said, "Oh, how come?" She said, "Well, one of my friends put it on my computer and he said I should use that, so I use that." There's no interest at all in engaging with what's better about it, what's interesting about it. I've noticed as well with this segment, there's quite a high usage of Blackberries, which surprised me. We all know the BlackBerry device is a business device, but if you really want to SMS your friends really fast and say that you're running a bit late, it's a perfect device. I did research in a different life where we compared how people's attitudes towards their contacts and a salesperson and a teenager are very, very similar in the way that they treat their address book and their contacts list. Because if one loses their address book, they lose their business, their livelihood, their way of making any money. If the other loses their contacts list or their address book, their whole social life disappears. And when you're 16, that's very important. So then we have Chris, and he's somebody who will engage with technology so he can be the expert. He will study it, he will work out how to make the best of it so that he can have an opinion. It's almost part of his character, the way he sees himself. So, I mentioned brand earlier, the fact that people will, when they buy a device or a brand, they're creating a reflection of themselves. For Chris, and people like him, it's important that being the expert, having an opinion when asked, so have you heard about these new Smartbooks? Well, he needs to have an answer. He's that kind of a person. Rebecca will not tolerate an interface that's not intuitive, that doesn't just work. These are the kind of participants we have when an error message pops up and they say, "How dare it ask me something I don't understand?" The language that we use in error messaging, in the way we write instructions for things, the way we think about network managers and different connectivity, people don't care. Is it on the internet or is it not on the internet? What's the best way? What's the quickest way? Why isn't it reconnected? Didn't I already give you this password? You know, if one of the things I've always used before when I've talked about interfaces and how they work, you know, if you wouldn't behave in that way if you were talking to a human being face to face, why should an interface be any more or less rude? It's not okay. Social norms do pervade through interfaces as well as just in face-to-face interactions. So, and Rebecca has no tolerance. She's grown up with the internet, she's grown up with technology, this is nothing new for her, it should just work. Chris is bizarrely easier to please, even though he's highly critical and he will compare, he will talk about it and he wants to. So, but he's much more likely to align himself with either a brand, you know, he will be an Apple person or a Microsoft person or a Linux person. It's unlikely that he'll want to be an expert in each. Or he'll be somebody who finds something completely different deliberately, so he's like the anti-fashion type person. But his alignment to a particular technology is important to how he sees himself. So what do we do next? Then we start playing with interfaces. We have our personas. We have to think about them, and these are some sketches we were doing for the Smartbook, for this kind of form factor, the smaller form factor, without a keyboard. And the reason we draw is because we can make an interface very quickly. We can show it to some people, and if it doesn't work, we can screw it up and start again. We don't need to. We can say, imagine if it took 2 seconds to start, or imagine if it took 45 seconds to start. And we can find out a lot just from having a quick chat with people. We don't need to test the full experience. We could also think about what kind of services people would like to see when they arrive. We can think about how to get people started. You know, we talk about learning curves for interfaces, and how do we move somebody from a Windows interface to a Mac or to a Linux or to something completely different. You know, learnability is a very important part of that. People need to get going quickly, and then if they're satisfied with that first use, then they're more likely to be willing to invest the time to learn a little bit more. Here we were looking at what will really matter. If I had a kind of Smartbook tablet always with me, always on, you know, I'll need some social, I'll need some web. What are the most important things that people are going to need, and what are those? How will they want to interface with it? This is by no means a new design for an interface. It's an opportunity for me to talk about a few of the different features that we've been working on. Because we're not quite there yet. Unfortunately, I haven't got the magic answer for you today. I haven't got that new interface that's going to help make things work. Oh, I have got a pointer though, that might help. So, what have we been looking at? We've been looking at sort of new categories. What will the categories be that matter? Should we put internet first? How many of those do we even need? Is anybody using a portable device ever really going to want to write an Excel spreadsheet or create their PowerPoint? I don't know. So, you know, these are the simplification of the interface is something that we're looking at very closely, and focusing the available functions and features and what people can do. The other thing we've been looking at is using the actual desktop, the actual furniture within the desktop, within the UI itself, in a much more integrated way. So I don't have to think about whether I want to use QQ or MSN or Google Chat or whatever it might be. All I want to do is talk to my friends. I don't want to go to Messenger. So we're looking at ways of making sure that the messages come through the desktop, that my statuses can be brought in through the desktop, so that I don't have to go off, start a browser, go to one place, go to another place. It's all there. I log in and my friends are with me. A way of making sure that My contacts are going to be portable so that I can have that home device, that mobile device, the things that Adam was talking about in his presentation. I really don't speak any Mandarin, but the slides were very useful and I understood enough to get what was being said. But he talked about that, you know, how do we make the internet portable? How do we make these devices fit into people's lives? How do we use the cloud in a useful way? We're obviously looking at ways of making it a bit more pretty, because whilst there's lots of fights in the world about form versus function, everybody likes to engage with beautiful things. And so we're trying to look at ways of making the interfaces more beautiful. We're also trying to increase the ways of bringing some of the features that people will recognize. So in the retail space, if I show people a Gwibber application, I doubt that many of them would understand what on earth that was. But it is a lovely open source application that helps you contact your Twitter, your MSN, your AOL, all through the same thing. So it's brilliant functionality, very silly name, and very unrecognizable. So we're looking at ways of bringing those services out instead of relying on teaching people a whole new vocabulary that they don't have. I think those are my main points about these slides. And we've got. So I'm back to the sweet spot. As I mentioned, I don't have the answers. I don't have a brand new interface to bring out in front of you. But one of the main reasons that I think that it's important that we talk to each other, that we do work as this ecosystem that Henri was describing, is that none of us are going to be able to find that place on our own. You need to help me understand what your business drivers are, what you're trying to achieve, what your view of the market is, and I can bring you the insight into user behavior and hopefully collaborate with some of you on sort of exploring new markets and narrowing down what's going to be needed to make these new devices a success. So, thank you for your time. If you do have any questions, you're welcome to email me.